Hello and welcome to India Business Hour. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. The market posts its best weekly performance in over 4 years, adds over 22 lakh crore rupees in market cap. The rupee gains for the 8th day, sees its strongest week in 2 years. Manappuram Finance shares hit record highs after private equity Bain Capital signs a $1 billion deal to pick up an 18% stake. Along with an open offer for 26% additional equity, Bain Capital will get joint control of the company if the offer goes through. Bajaj Finance shares hit record highs after Managing Director Rajiv Jain is elevated to the post of Vice Chairman for a tenure of 3 years, effective the 1st of April. Anup Saha has been named the new Managing Director. Suitors submit bids for Goenka family-run Welspun Group's 70% stake in its warehousing arm. Kotak's private equity arm and Asia-focused fund PAG make a joint bid. Temasek-backed Capital Land also among the bidders. That's an exclusive. Ola Electric admits that it has received notices from the government seeking its response on discrepancies for its sales and registration data. Says that 40% of the temporary backlog has been caused due to negotiations with vendors and now cleared. Sources say that the Road Transport Ministry has sent a second letter to Ola Electric seeking further clarifications. The Supreme Court says an in-house probe over the alleged unaccounted cash being found at Justice Yashwant Verma's residence has been initiated before the collegium met yesterday, adds that the proposal for Justice Verma's transfer to the Allahabad High Court is independent and separate from the in-house inquiry procedure. The Apex Court also says that the Delhi High Court Chief Justice will submit the inquiry report to the Chief Justice of India today. The Heathrow airport shut down until midnight after a fire at a nearby substation caused a significant power outage at Europe's busiest airport. Over 1,000 flights flying to and from London cancelled. Air India diverts 2 of its London-bound flights, cancels the remaining scheduled daily flights. India gets its first weight loss drug. Global pharma giant Eli Lilly gets a first-mover advantage with the launch of its blockbuster diabetes drug Mounjaro in India. The 2.5 milligram single-use vial of the chronic obesity medication will be available at 3,500 rupees. At least 90 killed in 24 hours in Gaza on day 3 of renewed Israeli strikes. Israel's military announces a ground invasion in South Gaza. Rafah. UNICEF says at least 200 children have been killed since Israel resumed its war on the enclave. A U.S. court summons billionaire Elon Musk in connection with the American market regulator's lawsuit that he allegedly failed to properly disclose details of his stakeholding in Twitter, purchase of Twitter stock before. All of that coming up for you in just a bit. But first up, the market action of the day. The Lal Street posting its best weekly performance in over 4 years, adding over 22 lakh crore rupees in market cap. So have the markets bottomed out? That's the big question. The Sensex and the Nifty rose more than 4% each. And that's the story as far as today is concerned. But it's been a decent week, a good bounce back for our markets. Prashant is standing by now. Prashant, the market's staging a bounce back this week. Do you believe it's got its mojo back?
Today was the 5th straight day of gains, and we've not had 5 straight days of gains for 7 months now. That kind of tells you how tough markets have been over the last many months now. But, well, we are tracking the bounce and, of course, the distance from the highs, right? Both qualitatively and quantitatively as well. I'll start with the indices, the Nifty Bank, the mid and the small cap indices. So 6, 5, 10 and 12, 13% is the bounce on the Nifty Bank, mid and small cap indices respectively, but also keep sight of the distance from the top, the view from the top. 11% for the Nifty to go, and, I mean, much more for the mid and small cap indices from their respective highs. This is just a slice of history. A 2-year cycle plays out. Sometimes, I mean, looking at history is reassuring. And when you look at, well, you get a sense that, well, these things do happen. And this is just, to the February 2016 Brexit episode where the market sold off 23%. This is all on Nifty. The ILNFS crisis in 2018, 15% sell-off. COVID, of course, it was brief but sharp, 38% fall. Russia, Ukraine, 10%. And, of course, this one from the highs late last year was about 16% or so. We've retraced 6% so far. Now let's look at sectors, right? Pockets which have done the maximum from the lows. But again, to put it into context, for each of them, I'm highlighting how much to go from their all-time highs. Nifty Metals, CPSC, oil and gas, and Nifty Real Estate are some of the strongest sectors we've seen come up from the recent lows, which is approximately on the 3rd or 4th of March, depending on what sector you look at. PSUs, pharma, The others, PSUs, of course, as a space, was the first to get smashed and lost about almost 35–40% of value, but strong recovery is what we've seen. The last three sectors essentially is where the trouble is. Autos, not very much at all, 21% off the highs. You got the FMCG space, still 20% off the highs. And the IT index, it did not correct with the rest of the market with the same ferocity. It sold off late, but no recovery at all. I mean, actually, we made a new low today. And of course, intraday, we did see a bit of a bounce, but 20% off here. Let's look at stocks. And for stocks, what I've done is I've looked at NSE 500 group, and I've taken the close of the March 3rd as the starting point. Not the intraday low, but the close on the 3rd of March. And here again, you know, it's largely industrial / defense / capital goods / manufacturing, those kind of names which have bounced the most. So Garden Reach, Bharat Dynamics, HAL, Jyoti CNC, Chennai Petro, Adani Enterprises, you know, Kirloskar Engines, Avanti Feed, NLC India, the pipe maker Welspun Corp, JSW Infra, and KEC International coming through as well. There are some capital market plays, K Fintech, Novama, and CAMS, and a sampling of some other names, DOMS, Amber, and Spark, etc., would show through as well. By the way, 40 stocks out of the NSE 500 are up over 20% from their lows on the 3rd of March.
Prashant, many thanks for joining us. Well, the markets are seeing a bounce back this week. And in the currency market, the rupee also similar move. Gain for the 8th straight day, registering its strongest week in 2 years. The currency strengthened on the back of improved foreign inflows and a fall in the dollar index. Big corporate stories. Manappuram Finance shares hitting a record high after Bain Capital signed a $1 billion deal to pick up an 18% stake. The private equity firm will also make an open offer for an additional stake of 26% in the NBFC. Bain Capital will get joint control of the company if the open offer goes through. And shares of Bajaj Finance hit a record high also. This comes a day after the company elevated Rajiv Jain to the post of Vice Chairman and Executive Director for 3 years, starting the 1st of April. Jain has also been appointed as an additional director of Bajaj Finserv. Bajaj Finance Deputy Managing Director Anup Kumar Saha has been elevated to the position of Managing Director for a 3-year period. Now, Suitors have submitted bids for Goenka family-run Welspun Group's 70% stake in its warehousing arm. Sources tell us that Kotak's private equity arm and Asia-focused fund PAG have made a joint bid. Rachna is standing by with more details. Rachna, take us through the race for this asset and who the potential suitors are.
Well, sources have told CNBC-TV18 that Kotak's private equity arm, along with Asia-focused fund PAG, are going to make a joint bid for BK Goenka family stake in Welspun 1. But they are not alone. There's also Temasek-backed Capital Land, Keppel Land, Starwood Capital Group, Partners Group, and also Hill House Investments that has been looking to get into the Indian real estate market for quite some time now. And this could be the opportunity they would be looking for. Some of these bids that have been made sometime this week are in the range of about $100 to $120 million. Now, speaking of investor interest in logistics and warehousing space, it has been on the rise ever since COVID-19 and focus on manufacturing in the country. But Welspun once plans to build India's largest single location warehousing park at JNPT SEZ is a major attraction for this particular stake. The company's projected AUM stands at about $1.3 billion, reflecting the expanding scale of the sector and of the company. Meanwhile, we reached out to Welspun Group and Welspun 1 for a comment, but are yet to receive a response for them. But one thing is for sure that with multiple heavyweights trying to vie for the stake of BK Goenka family in Welspun 1, this process is expected to complete by sometime around the end of this month, with another development, which will be the final bids being submitted, will come sometime next week, and soon the transaction will move forward. We will bring you more updates as and when this moves ahead.
All right, Racha, many thanks for joining us. The Tata Group has finalized a syndicate of 10 investment banks for the proposed 15,000 crore rupee Tata Capital IPO. As per a money control report, the financial services firm is likely to file the draft papers by the end of March via the confidential pre-filing route. Tata Sons, the promoter entity, owns over 92% stake in Tata Capital. Shares of Adani Energy gained in trade today after the company bagged a power transmission project in Gujarat for 2,800 crore rupees. The new power project will facilitate the production of green hydrogen and green ammonia in Mundra. The project is expected to be completed in the next 36 months. Now, the Ministry of Road Transport has sent a second letter to Ola Electric seeking more clarifications. This is in relation to the discrepancies found in Ola's sales and vehicle registration data. Parikshit is standing by now with more. Parikshit, take us through what the MHAI is looking into and the kind of response it sought from Ola.
Well, the Ministry of Heavy Industries has examined a reply that has come from Ola Electric. They have sent it to the Automotive Research Association of India, which is a body under the MHI which certifies companies for homologation of vehicles and also for the PLI and the PM e-drive incentives. Having said that, what has the ARAI been tasked with? One, to identify whether there is a discrepancy between what the company Ola Electric is reporting on the stock exchange in terms of 25,000 vehicles sold, and why there is a difference between the vehicle registration data on the Vahan portal and the actual sales being claimed by the company. Number two, the MHI wants to understand whether there is any kind of violation of regulatory law, for example, the company law for that matter. So ARAI will also have to give an opinion on that front. Thirdly, why were Ola stores across the country functioning without trade certificates? Now, we've come to know from multiple sources in the government that out of 3,500 stores that Ola was operating across the country, a bulk of them did not have valid trade certificates. Why was this happening? So ARAI will have to submit a response to that as well. And lastly, the MHI previously had told Ola Electric and all companies who are beneficiaries of government incentives that you must have service centers in every city that you operate or have showrooms in. So the ARAI has also been asked to conduct random checks to identify whether service centers across the country for Ola are functioning or not. So there has to be a comprehensive report that ARAI will have to submit to the Ministry of Heavy Industries. Similarly, the Ministry of Road Transport is also seeking replies to see why there is a difference in this sales data and how many vehicles have actually been sold in March that were actually sold in February. So a lot of such questions are being asked to Ola Electric. The inspections against them are intensifying. It's not just Maharashtra, Punjab and Madhya Pradesh. There are inspections going on in Himachal Pradesh, Kerala and several other states as well.
All right, Parikshit, many thanks for joining us. And staying with the auto sector, Mahindra is set to raise the prices of its SUVs and commercial vehicles by up to 3% from next month. The company has cited rising costs and increased commodity prices as the reason. The move comes after Maruti and Tata Motors announced that they will also increase prices from the 1st of April. Hero Motors entered the electric three-wheeler market with a 500 crore rupee investment in Euler Motors. The auto company will acquire a 33% stake in the electric three-wheeler maker. The investment will be made in multiple tranches. Hero Motors shares rallied in trade today after that announcement. Now, the Supreme Court has said that an in-house probe over the alleged unaccounted cash being found at Justice Yashwant Verma's residence, who is a justice in the Delhi High Court, had been initiated before the collegium met yesterday. The Apex Court, in a statement, said that the proposal to transfer Justice Verma to the Allahabad High Court is also independent and separate from the in-house inquiry procedure, so that is not a disciplinary action as it was being seen as. Ashmit joins us now with more. Ashmit, the Supreme Court statement doesn't really reveal very much. It doesn't talk about what the probe is about. It doesn't talk about what information the Chief Justice of Delhi got on the back of which the probe was initiated, the inquiry was initiated. It doesn't talk about the evidence either. And it also goes on to say that this transfer has nothing to do with the ongoing probe. And by the way, the transfer itself is only at a proposal stage. What do we make of this, Ashmit?
Well, after almost an entire day of sketchy details and speculation on the fate of Justice Verma, Justice Yashwant Verma, we're given to understand that the Supreme Court has issued a statement trying to clear the air. Of course, all of this pertains to reports of unaccounted cash being recovered from the residence of Justice Yashwant Verma. Now, to that end, the Supreme Court statement clarifies that there is misinformation and rumors doing the rounds, that the Supreme Court statement is trying to clear the air, and it's trying to set the facts in the chronological order. The Supreme Court statement clarifies that there was an in-house committee that was constituted by the Chief Chief Justice of the Delhi High Court prior to the Supreme Court Collegium meeting late last evening. Not just that, the statement clarifies that this in-house committee has been formed to collect information and evidence regarding this reported incident of unaccounted cash. That this report, importantly, will be submitted by the end of the day today, and it is only after that that a decision will be taken based on the findings of this in-house committee. A decision will be taken on the fate of Justice Yashwant Verma. That's one side of the story. The other, of course, is the question is, has he been transferred? Well, to that end, this collegium admits that there was a proposal that was floated for transfer of Justice Yashwant Verma. What's important is that the meeting that was called, that was convened last evening of the Supreme Court Collegium, they considered this proposal. They've written to the Chief Justices of the relevant high courts, and only after a response is received from these high courts is when the collegium will take a decision on whether or not to transfer Justice Yashwant Verma. But even despite this Supreme Court press release, there are still many questions that remain unanswered. Number one, how much cash was recovered in terms of unaccounted cash from Justice Yashwant Verma's residence? Number two, who will decide on the findings of the report of this in-house committee? Who will take that decision? Will it be the in-house committee? Will it be the Supreme Court Collegium? And number three, what kind of disciplinary actions can be contemplated if he's found to be hosting this unaccounted cash at his residence, Justice Verma's residence? So clearly, a lot of questions that still need answering.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट की कॉलेजियम बुलाई गई और उस कॉलेजियम से हमने ये फैसला लिया कि इनका ट्रांसफ़र पेरेंट हाई कोर्ट इलाहाबाद हाई कोर्ट में कर दिया जाए। हमारा इस पर सख्त ऐतराज़ है। हमारा ये कहना है कि क्या भ्रष्टाचार के आरोप को झेल रहे एक माननीय जज साहब, जिनको जो कहीं और पर पोस्टेड थे, वो यहाँ से जा चुके थे ऑलरेडी, उनकी अपनी स्वैच्छिक रूप से उन्होंने स्थानांतरण लिया था और वो यहाँ पर फिर भेजे जा रहे हैं। क्या हमारा हाई कोर्ट डस्टबिन हो गया है कि किसी जज के ऊपर अगर कोई चार्ज लगता है तो उसको इलाहाबाद हाई कोर्ट भेज दिया जाए?
There is corruption in judiciary. Let's be very blunt about it. And nobody wants to talk about it, sadly. I mean, and I don't think that it's Faizan Mustafa Sahab who should take responsibility for it. The rot has set into the society. If you have corrupt judges, then justice is what is the biggest victim. You can't have corrupt judges. One corrupt judge is not, and there are definitely many more than one corrupt judges across the country. Everybody knows.
Other judges do not have the power of removal from office. That lies with Parliament in an impeachment proceeding, which is a solemn proceeding. Now, before you launch into that, there is going to be an in-house inquiry, and it may very well be that the collegium then, based on the inquiry, suggests to Parliament that the judge concerned be impeached if, in the meanwhile, the judge himself does not take corrective action.
Well, reactions coming in. Remember, the Delhi Chief Justice's report will be submitted to the Chief Justice of India today, as per the Supreme Court statement, but it is unlikely that the report itself will be made public. Now, the External Affairs Ministry has informed Parliament that it has strongly registered its concerns with American authorities over the treatment of Indian deportees, particularly with respect to the use of shackles. US authorities have assured the government that no women or children were restrained on those flights that arrived in India on the 15th and 16th of February. MEA stated that this was verified by Indian agencies. Since January 2025, 388 Indian nationals have been deported from the US. 295 more Indian immigrants could be deported soon, as per the government data. And staying with replies from Parliament, the External Affairs Ministry has also said that the guidelines for gold cards that will be sold by the US government are yet to be published. Remember, the Trump administration announced that it intends to sell these cards that will provide the recipient with a permanent residency in exchange for a $5 million fee. 18 BJP MLAs have been suspended from the Karnataka Legislative Assembly for 6 months for disrupting proceedings. The MLAs stormed the well of the House and tore and threw papers in protest as the Assembly passed the state budget. The BJP members were protesting the Congress government's decision to grant a 4% reservation for Muslims in public contracts. The legislators also demanded a judicial probe into an alleged attempt to honey trap a minister. Up next on India Business Hour, the Heathrow Airport shuts down in London till midnight after a fire at a nearby substation caused a significant power outage at Europe's busiest airport. That and more when we return. Catch all of CNBC-TV18's news and updates on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X and Jio Hotstar. US-based pharma giant Eli Lilly has launched its popular anti-diabetes and obesity drug Mounjaro in India. The launch was following the approval from the drug controller. Lilly has launched the drug in a single-dose vial and has been priced at 3,500 rupees for a 2.5 mg vial and 4,375 rupees for a 5 mg vial. AstraZeneca is investing $2.5 billion in a research and development center in Beijing. The British pharma giant has also announced licensing deals with 2 Chinese firms and a joint venture with BioCangtai to make vaccines for respiratory and other illnesses. The move comes at a time when AstraZeneca is scrambling to revive its business in the country amidst probes into its import taxes. More than 1,000 flights have been cancelled and at least 120 have been diverted at London's Heathrow Airport. This is after a fire broke out near a substation, causing significant power outage at Europe's busiest airport. Emergency services were deployed to the site and airport authorities have advised passengers not to travel to the airport. Sanjay Suri gets us the latest from outside the Heathrow Airport.
Massive disruption at Heathrow Airport here. The airport is closed for the day. We've been told it will be closed until at least midnight today. Well over 1,300 flights affected. That's both departures and arrivals. A lot of planes due to arrive in Heathrow in the morning have been diverted. The lucky flights have been diverted to nearby Gatwick, but others to Manchester, to Glasgow, and still others to Paris, Amsterdam, other countries. This is a massive disruption that's been caused by an outage of power supply. There's a power station about a mile from here in nearby Hayes where a massive fire broke out overnight. We have been told there is no statement as of now on the cause of the fire, but that is what finished the supply to Heathrow. Thousands and thousands of passengers have been affected, and this is not going to be the end of the disruption by the end of today. This is going to lead to a massive knock-on effect because flights have been postponed or they are being cancelled even on days subsequently, and already there are warnings that passengers will face disrupted journeys for several days to come. And let's not forget, Heathrow is one of the busiest airports in the world, and last year it handled about 84 million passengers. So that's a lot of disruption, and this is going to lead also to other flight disruptions that affect flights not operating necessarily directly only to Heathrow Airport. So we can expect a great deal of disruption in days to come. Passengers have been arriving early morning hoping to get their flights. Others have come to pick up passengers. There are no flights taking off. There are no passengers arriving, no flights arriving here at all.
Sanjay, many thanks for joining us. More than 600 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli forces since Israel broke the Gaza ceasefire earlier this week. According to the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry, the death toll continues to mount as forces bolster their presence in the enclave. The Israeli military said that ground invasion of southern Gaza is underway and are also pushing into northern and central parts of Gaza. From one war-torn region to another, Ukrainian President Zelensky has said that Russian forces have attacked some regions with over 200 drone strikes. This has resulted in a massive fire breaking out in a shopping mall and several stores and damaging a residential building in Odessa. In a post on X, Zelensky added that a total of 9 people were injured. Emergency services are on the scene and working. There can't be peace talks in Europe without involving the European Union. That's the word coming in from James Lawless, Ireland's education minister. In an exclusive conversation with Jude Sunnett, the minister said that the peace process in Europe can't just be left to Russia and the US. Here's a slice of that conversation.
Ukraine is part of the European landmass.
That's true.
And we cannot have a situation where there's a peace deal by 2 superpowers in Russia and the United States, and the entire European continent is out off the table. Mm-hmm. So because there is a worry about Eastern European states along the border of Finland, Poland, Estonia,
so
all the way down.
Has to be a participant in these talks.
Yes, because otherwise they're saying, well, who's going to decide our fate? So the European Union is itself a superpower, and I think that we need to be involved in those talks as well.
And in the US, President Donald Trump has signed an executive order to dismantle the Education Department. The order will now call for the reduction in the department's size and returning control over to state and local authorities. President Trump has always criticized the Education Department, calling it inefficient. Billionaire businessman Elon Musk received a court summons in connection with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission lawsuit regarding the disclosure of a stake in Twitter. As per a court filing, the summons was delivered to Musk in Texas on the 14th of March. As per the market regulator's complaint, Musk bought over 5% stake in Twitter prior to acquiring the company, but allegedly failed to disclose his holdings on time. Well, with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of India Business Hour. Thanks very much for watching. The news will continue right here on CNBC-TV18. Stay tuned. There's a lot more coming up, but from all of us here, have a great weekend. See you on Monday.